The invitation never came. It was Thanksgiving Eve, and I was checking my phone every 5 minutes like an idiot. Waiting. Anticipating. Pretending I didn't care, but caring desperately. My name is Harper Jensen. 25 years old back then, 32 now. And that Thanksgiving, 7 years ago, was the day my family showed me exactly where I stood on their priority list. Spoiler: dead last. I grew up in a typical suburban family in Minneapolis. Dad worked in finance, Mom pretended to be happy, and an older brother who could do anything wrong and still be adored. Mark Jensen. 3 years older than me. Handsome, charismatic, the kind of guy who could convince anyone of anything. Our parents worshipped him. Not subtly. Loudly, obviously, painfully. When Mark got B's, they said, "You're working so hard, we're so proud." When I got a +S, they said, "Great, keep it up." When Mark dropped out of college sophomore year to find himself, they funded a 6-month trip through Europe. When I asked for help with student loans, they told me to learn responsibility. When Mark came back and got a job through my dad's connections, it was a celebration. When I landed my first marketing job, alone, without help, I barely got a congratulations. I was the invisible daughter. The one who didn't cause problems, so she didn't get attention. The one who tried hard, so she didn't need support. At 25, I had just moved to Denver. New job, new apartment, new life. I was trying to establish myself, build something of my own, away from my brother's shadow. And I was alone. Completely alone. That Thanksgiving was supposed to be the first since the move. I had assumed I'd go home to Minneapolis, that it would be like always, uncomfortable but family. But the invitation never came. In the family WhatsApp group, the same one where we planned everything, there was silence. Total, complete silence. Until Thanksgiving morning, when my cousin posted a photo of the table at my parents' house, with everyone there. My mom, my dad, Mark, my aunt and uncle, my cousins, everyone, except me. The caption said, "Grateful for family, red heart." I stared at that photo for 10 full minutes, trying to process. They didn't forget me. That was impossible. They deliberately didn't invite me. I called my mom. She answered on the 4th ring, voice low, like she didn't want others to hear. "Hi, honey." "Mom, why wasn't I invited to Thanksgiving?" "Oh, Harper, it's just, well, Mark is going through a hard time. He broke up with his girlfriend and he's sensitive. We thought it would be better to keep things small this year." "You understand." Small? There are 12 people in that photo. "Well, immediate family. I'm your daughter." "Harper, don't make this into a big thing. You've always been so independent. We thought you wouldn't even care. You're so busy in Denver. You didn't invite me because Mark is sad." Silence. Then, with that voice she used when she wanted to make me feel guilty, "He needs us right now. You're strong. You always have been. You'll be fine." And there it was. The naked truth. I was strong, so I didn't need them. Mark was weak, so he deserved everything. I hung up without saying goodbye. I sat on the floor of my empty apartment, a 40-square-meter studio with IKEA furniture and bare walls, and cried. Not from sadness. From anger. From humiliation. From finally understanding I would never be enough for them. And there, on the cold floor of that Denver apartment, I made myself a promise. Never again. Never again would I wait for their love. Never again would I beg for a place at their table. I was going to build my own table. And they would never be invited. I spent that Thanksgiving eating ramen noodles on my couch, watching Netflix, and ignoring the 17 messages that eventually came through the family group chat. Photos of the turkey, the pumpkin pie, Mark's brave smile as he carved the meat. Not a single person asked where I was. The apartment building was mostly empty. Everyone had gone home for the holiday. The silence was suffocating, broken only by distant laughter from the one family that had stayed, a couple with a toddler 3 floors down. I could hear their joy through the thin walls. The child's squealing laughter, the warm hum of conversation, the clinking of glasses. Everything I didn't have. At 9 p.m., my phone buzzed. My dad. Harper, your mother is upset. She says you were rude on the phone. This is a family holiday. You shouldn't make her feel bad. I stared at the message for a long time. Not, we're sorry you weren't here. Not, we missed you. Just, don't make your mother feel bad. I turned off my phone and made another promise to myself. I would never again let their dysfunction touch me. I would succeed so completely, so undeniably, that they would see exactly what they had thrown away. That night, I opened my laptop and started researching digital marketing trends, online courses, certification programs, freelance platforms. If I was going to be alone, I was going to be exceptional. The years that followed were hard, brutally hard. I threw myself into work with an intensity that bordered on obsession. I took every course I could afford, learned every tool, worked every extra hour available. My job at a small Denver marketing agency was just the beginning. Within a year, I was managing major accounts. Within 2, I was the top performer. But I wanted more. I wanted my own thing, something no one could take from me. At 27, I started freelancing on the side, building websites, managing social media campaigns, creating content strategies. I worked 14-hour days, sacrificed weekends, survived on coffee and ambition. My apartment stayed small. My furniture stayed minimal. Every dollar went into building my business. The family calls became less frequent. Birthdays were acknowledged with generic text messages. Holidays passed without invitations, and I stopped expecting them. Mark, from what I gathered through the grapevine of family gossip, was thriving. He had been promoted twice at his company. He got engaged. He bought a house in the same Minneapolis suburb where we grew up, 10 minutes from our parents. He was living the golden child life, and I was grinding in obscurity. But something shifted at 29. A campaign I created for a regional coffee chain went viral. Suddenly, I had clients reaching out. Big clients. National brands. Companies willing to pay real money for real expertise. At 30, I officially launched Harper Jensen Digital, my own agency. Just me at first, working from my now slightly bigger apartment. But within 6 months, I hired my first employee. Then another. Then another. We moved into a real office in downtown Denver. A sleek space with exposed brick and floor-to-ceiling windows. I had a team of 8 talented people who believed in what we were building. My Instagram, which I had started as a side project to showcase our work, grew to 40,000 followers. Business publications started reaching out for interviews. I was invited to speak at marketing conferences. Harper Jensen Digital became known for innovative campaigns that actually worked. We weren't just creative, we delivered results. And through all of it, my family barely noticed. My mom would occasionally comment, "That's nice, dear," when I mentioned a new client. My dad would say, "Good for you," with the same tone he used to compliment the weather. Mark got engaged, and there was a parade. I built a 6-figure business and got a text that said, "Proud of you, thumbs up," but I didn't care anymore. Not really. I had built something real. Something mine. Something that had nothing to do with them. By 32, Harper Jensen Digital had 15 employees and an annual revenue that would have shocked my finance executive father. We worked with Fortune 500 companies. We won industry awards. I moved into a beautiful loft in Lodo with exposed beams and a view of the mountains. I traveled for work and pleasure. I had friends, real friends, who chose me, not tolerated me. I was happy, genuinely happy. And I hadn't spoken to my family in over a year. I first heard about Mark's problems through LinkedIn, of all places. He had changed his job title 3 times in 6 months. Never a good sign. Then his profile went quiet. No updates, no posts, no engagement. Then my cousin Emily, the one who had posted that Thanksgiving photo 7 years ago, reached out via DM. "Hey Harper, long time. Hope you're well. Just wanted to give you a heads up that Mark's going through some stuff. Lost his job. Made some bad investments. Things are rough. Thought you should know." I read the message twice, feeling absolutely nothing. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Just nothing. "Thanks for letting me know," I typed back. Polite. Distant. Over the following weeks, pieces of the story trickled through the family network that I was still technically part of, even if I never participated. Mark had been fired for performance issues, which apparently meant showing up late, leaving early, and treating his team like servants. He had invested heavily in some cryptocurrency scheme that a friend convinced him was the next Bitcoin. It wasn't. He lost nearly everything. His engagement had ended. His fiancée, it turned out, was less interested in struggling Mark than successful Mark. He had to sell the house. Move back in with our parents, at 35 years old. The golden child had tarnished. And where was the family support system that had always been there for him? Apparently, even unconditional love has its limits when money gets involved. My parents, now in their late 60s, were tired. Tired of supporting. Tired of excusing. Tired of a son who had never learned to stand on his own because he never had to. But I learned all of this secondhand. No one called me. No one asked if I could help. No one even thought of me. Until the email arrived. It was a cold October morning when I opened my work inbox and saw a name I hadn't seen in years. Mark Jensen. Subject line, reaching out. My finger hovered over the delete button. It would be so easy. Just one click and I could erase him like he had helped erase me from that Thanksgiving table. But curiosity won. I opened it. "Hi Harper, I hope this email finds you well. I know it's been a long time since we've really talked, and I take full responsibility for that. I've been following your success with Harper Jensen Digital, and I'm incredibly impressed with what you've built. Your campaigns are innovative and your business acumen is clearly exceptional. I'm reaching out because I'm currently in transition career-wise and looking for new opportunities. I saw that your agency has been growing, and I wondered if there might be a place for someone with my background. I have 10 years of experience in business development and client relations. I think I could bring a lot of value to your team. I'd love to meet up if you have time. I'm actually going to be in Denver next week for some interviews. Maybe coffee. I really hope we can reconnect. Your brother, Mark." I read it 3 times. Then I laughed. A harsh, bitter sound that surprised even me. Someone with my background. As if his resume of failure and family connections was impressive. I could bring a lot of value. After years of bringing nothing but pain. Your brother. As if that title meant anything after 7 years of silence. He wasn't reaching out to reconnect. He was reaching out because he needed something. The old Harper, the 25-year-old who sat alone on Thanksgiving, would have been conflicted. Would have felt guilty for even considering saying no. But I wasn't her anymore. I scheduled the meeting. We met at an upscale coffee shop in Cherry Creek, one of Denver's affluent neighborhoods. I chose it deliberately, a place that showcased exactly how far I had come. I arrived early, wearing a tailored blazer and confidence I had earned through years of proving myself. My laptop bag was leather. My watch was subtle but expensive. Everything about me screamed success. Mark arrived 10 minutes late, looking like a man who had been broken by life and poorly reassembled. He had gained weight. His hairline had receded. His suit, once probably nice, was wrinkled and slightly too tight. His eyes had that desperate look of someone who has realized too late that charm doesn't pay bills. "Harper," he said, attempting a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You look amazing. Denver clearly agrees with you." "Mark." I gestured to the seat across from me. "Sit." He ordered a regular coffee. I already had my oat milk latte. We made small talk for exactly 3 minutes. Weather, the city, the mountains. The conversation was stilted, awkward, like talking to a stranger who happened to share my DNA. Then he launched into his pitch. "So, like I said in my email, I've been really impressed with what you've built. Harper Jensen Digital is doing incredible work. That campaign you did for Mountain Peak Gear? Brilliant. I've been in business development for a decade, and I know talent when I see it." I sipped my coffee and said nothing. He continued, getting more nervous with my silence. "I think I could really help scale the business. My network in the corporate world is extensive. I have connections with decision-makers at major companies. I could bring in clients, help with strategic partnerships." He trailed off, finally registering my expression. "Harper, what do you think?" I set down my coffee carefully. "I think you're desperate," I said calmly. "I think you've spent your entire life coasting on charm and connections, and now that both have run out, you're scrambling. I think you looked at my success and saw a life raft." "Am I close?" His face went red. "That's not, Harper, I genuinely admire what you've— When was the last time you spoke to me, Mark?" "Before this email." He opened his mouth, closed it. It's been a while, I know, but 7 years. 7 years of silence. You didn't call when I launched my business. You didn't congratulate me when we won our first industry award. You didn't reach out when I bought my loft. But now, when you need something, suddenly I'm worth your time. Harper, come on. We're family." And there it was. The magic word they always used when they wanted something. "Family," I repeated softly. "Like that Thanksgiving 7 years ago? When I was left out because you were going through a hard time? That kind of family." He had the decency to look uncomfortable. "I didn't know about that until after. Mom said." "You knew." "Maybe not before, but definitely during. You saw I wasn't there. You saw the photo. You could have reached out. You didn't." "I should have," he admitted, and for the first time, he sounded sincere. "I should have done a lot of things differently. I was selfish. I took advantage of Mom and Dad's favoritism. I took you for granted. I'm sorry." It might have been the first genuine apology he'd ever given me. But it was 7 years too late. I looked at my brother across the table, this man who had been given every advantage I was denied, who had squandered all of it through arrogance and laziness, and felt something unexpected. Not anger, not satisfaction, just pity. "Mark, I've built Harper Jensen Digital from nothing. Every client, every employee, every success is because I worked for it. No connections, no safety net. Just me, proving every single day that I deserve to be where I am." I leaned forward slightly. "My team is small but exceptionally talented. Every person I've hired has earned their place through skill, dedication, and alignment with our values. We have a culture of accountability, innovation, and mutual respect." His eyes lit up with hope. "You don't fit what we're building," I said simply. "Not because you're my brother. Not because of the past, though that certainly factors in. But because you've spent your entire career taking shortcuts, relying on family connections, and blaming others when things go wrong. That's not who we are." Harper, please. I've changed. I've learned. Maybe you have. Maybe this hardship has taught you something valuable. But it's not my responsibility to give you a chance to prove it. You need to do that on your own, without family saving you. Again. I stood up, gathering my things. I don't hold a grudge, Mark. I genuinely hope you figure things out. But you're not going to figure them out working for me. He sat there, stunned, as I put on my coat. For what it's worth, I added, that Thanksgiving 7 years ago was the best thing that ever happened to me. Being left out taught me that I don't need family approval to build something meaningful. So, in a way, thank you. I left him sitting there, coffee growing cold, reality setting in. Walking out into the crisp Denver air, I felt lighter than I had in years. That Thanksgiving, 7 years after being left out, I cooked for myself. Not ramen noodles in a depressing studio. A full meal in my beautiful loft, with a table that seated 8. I invited my team from Harper Jensen Digital. My assistant director Maria and her wife. My lead designer Josh. My content strategist Priya. A few other friends I had made in Denver, real friends who chose me. We cooked together, laughed together, shared what we were grateful for. Maria said she was grateful for leadership that valued her ideas. Josh said he was grateful for a workplace that felt like family. Priya said she was grateful for Harper Jensen Digital taking a chance on her when other agencies wouldn't. When it was my turn, I raised my glass of wine. I'm grateful for being left out 7 years ago. For learning that chosen family is stronger than blood. For discovering that the best revenge isn't cruelty, it's building something so beautiful that you don't need revenge at all. We toasted. We ate. We celebrated. And for the first time in my life, Thanksgiving felt like home. My phone buzzed once during dinner. My mom, in the family group chat that I had muted but never left, "Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. We miss Harper this year. Hope she's doing well in Denver." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. 3 weeks before Christmas, my mother called. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity, that same curiosity that made me read Mark's email, won again. "Hi, Mom. Harper. Oh, honey, it's so good to hear your voice. How are you?" "I'm fine. Busy with year-end at the agency." "That's wonderful. We're all so proud of you, you know." I said nothing. "Listen, I wanted to call about Christmas. We're having dinner at the house, and we'd really love it if you came. It's been so long since we've all been together." "Oh?" I asked pointedly. "Well, yes. The whole family. Your father and I, Mark, your aunt and uncle, the cousins. So the same group from that Thanksgiving 7 years ago." Silence. Then carefully, "Harper, if this is about that, we've moved past. You've moved past it. I haven't needed to move past it because I've moved forward. There's a difference. Harper, please. You're our daughter. We want you here." "Why now, Mom? Why this year?" More silence. Then quietly, "Mark thinks it would be good for the family to all be together. He's been through so much, and seeing you successful has made him realize." And there it was. So this invitation isn't about wanting me there. It's about making Mark feel better about his failures by seeing the family whole again. That's not fair. Neither was leaving me out because he was sad about a breakup. "Harper, I'm going to Aspen for Christmas," I lied smoothly. "Already booked. Maybe next year." Maybe next year. The same phrase I would use every holiday going forward. A polite fiction that kept the door slightly ajar without ever actually walking through it. "Oh, well, that's... I understand. Maybe New Year's then." "Maybe. I'll let you know." I wouldn't let her know. We said our goodbyes, and I hung up feeling nothing but relief. My chosen family had already made plans for Christmas. A ski trip to Breckenridge. No drama. No favoritism. Just people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. That's where I would be. It's been 7 years since that first excluded Thanksgiving. 7 years since I sat alone in a studio apartment, crying over ramen noodles and broken promises. Now, I'm sitting in my loft, watching snow fall over the Denver skyline, a glass of wine in my hand and my laptop open to next quarter's business plan. Harper Jensen Digital has 22 employees now. We've been featured in Forbes. We just signed our biggest client yet, a global tech company that sought us out specifically because of our reputation for innovative, authentic campaigns. My apartment isn't empty. My life isn't silent. I've dated. I've traveled. I've built friendships that feel more like family than my actual family ever did. And I've learned something that 25-year-old Harper didn't understand. Being excluded from a toxic system isn't rejection. It's liberation. My family still exists in my periphery. Birthday texts. Generic holiday messages. The occasional guilt trip phone call from my mother. But they don't exist in my heart anymore. That space is reserved for people who chose me when they didn't have to. For employees who trust my leadership. For friends who show up. For a life I built entirely on my own terms. Mark never reached out again after that coffee meeting. I heard through the family grapevine that he eventually found a job in sales. Something entry-level. Something that required him to actually work. I hope he learned something from hitting rock bottom. I hope he became better. But it's not my job to care. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that Thanksgiving photo. 12 people around a table, laughing and celebrating. And me, miles away, alone. I don't feel angry anymore when I think about it. I feel grateful. Being left out of that table forced me to build my own. And my table? It's so much better than theirs ever was. The best revenge isn't cruelty. It isn't even success. The best revenge is building a life so fulfilling that you forget you ever wanted revenge at all. My name is Harper Jensen. I'm 32 years old. I was excluded from Thanksgiving to protect the favorite. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.